All right, go ahead, Carla.
Please join me in welcoming Jim Chaffee, Executive Director of Learning, Innovation, and Technology at the Tippie College of Business. Jim currently has over 30 years of progressive higher education experience, specifically in the implementation, innovation, and management of information technology. He has more than 20 years higher education teaching experience in the area of computer science, business analytics, and information systems in education. Jim joined the Tippie College in 2007 after serving as the Assistant Vice President of Information Technology and Chief Information Officer at Illinois College in Jacksonville, Illinois. Jim's main area of interest in terms of investigation focuses on using innovative technologies to improve learning. His most recent areas of interest are extended reality and artificial intelligence. Join me in welcoming Jim. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlette. Let me share my screen real quick and we will get started. Share sound. All right, so basically you should see an intro of me on the screen. Everybody see that? Maybe?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I'm not going to go through all this because Carlette already did, but I do want to just pull out that in my current areas are extended reality and artificial intelligence, and we're going to talk about extended reality. So what is that we're going to talk about? It's the practical implementations of extended reality in business field. So really, we're going to take a look at a number of different examples of how extended reality, specifically virtual for a lot of it, but also augmented, plays out in all the different businesses. And then we're going to take a really quick glance at what we're doing here in the Tippie College, just so people are aware. So when I talk about extended reality, I'm really talking about three different things: virtual reality, where you're fully immersed; augmented reality, where you're looking through a device and you're seeing things through the camera as well as overlays; and then mixed reality, which is a combination of these things. This is a transformative technology. And I don't use that word lightly. A lot of people will talk about transformation and how it plays out in higher education. But the reality here is, and no pun intended, that this is transformative. It is going to potentially change the way we do things in so many areas. We don't even talk about the artificial intelligence side of things. We're just talking about the extended reality side of things and how we can do so much more for both our students as well as in the business field for our staff. So if we take a look real quickly at the extended reality market size, we're actually looking at right now at 2023, we're around $50 billion in market share. And every group that we talk to, every survey that we look at, all the research points to a market share of somewhere in the $300 to $350 billion investments by 2030. So within 7 years, the explosion here is unprecedented, honestly. And part of that is because we're looking at extended reality as a simulation and training market space more than anything else. So a lot of the examples we're going to look at here today when it comes to businesses is how we can use this for training and simulating environments. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. But you can see some of the statistics on here, and I'll share some very specific ones here in a second. But VR training can reduce occurrence of workplace injuries by 43%. This is one of the reasons why companies like Walmart are using virtual reality to train a lot of their staff as they come on. VR training has the potential to boost GDP, like we talked about, to almost 300 to maybe 350 billion, depending on where you look at. And 39% of large organizations are already leveraging this. So this is just a quick view of some of the organizations that are out there using this. Raytheon, Lenovo. Lenovo is huge in this market space. MasterCard's been using this for training for a while. Obviously, Google's been doing things, but you can read a lot of these different companies are out there in the environment right now utilizing virtual and extended reality and augmented reality for all sorts of different examples of ways to do training, to do simulation, to get employees connected, to get to their company, to get employees to understand empathy. And we'll talk about some of that as we go through. So a couple of questions, and I did not do these as polls just because it's technology and technology always goes wrong. So I just decided I'd do it as a quick question to everybody. Just what is the retention rate of VR training? When we talk about training, when we talk about learning, we've got to figure out the retention rate. What's our rate at which people will retain this information as we move forward? Is it 35%, 45%, et cetera? And the reality is the retention rate is 75% of VR training in schools. It beats out lectures, which retention rate of lectures is 5%, just reading 10%, audio visual, which is kind of what we're doing right now all the time, is 20%. So the retention rate, because it's such an immersive technology, is through the roof. The next question is, what's the average increase in memory recall using virtual reality in a study and comparing virtual reality and just plain desktop learning? And you can see the percentages. And the reality is we're at 8.8 average increase in memory recall. So not only do we retain more, but we can recall it better than we can with just normal desktop learning. And then what's the accuracy after VR training? So if you're doing any kind of training, do you have higher accuracy? Do you have lower accuracy? Is it the same? And we can see that 12% higher accuracy and 17% faster time to completion on tasks using VR training versus instructional video. And you can see Accenture, University of Maryland, National Education Association. This is where these studies come from. I've got a list of resources at the bottom as well that you can see. So what businesses uses are there for XR? And this is just a small number. I could spend all day talking about the different use cases, but I wanted to give you very specific ones. Some are a little more fun than others, but we can do meetings, training, as I talked about. HR is one that I think is huge. There's marketing, analytics, et cetera. So I'm going to go through a number of these and just talk about them and show some videos as we go through. So meetings, there's a lot of ways we can do meetings right now. Obviously, we're in Zoom. We can do meetings in Teams. We can do meetings in person, but all of those are distracting. So right now there's something going outside my window and I can glance outside my window because something went by, or I look down at my phone. How many of you right now are doing email while you're listening to me talk? We're always doing something on top of what we should be doing because we're trying to multitask. But when you're in virtual reality, because it's so immersive, you have to pay attention and you have to be engaged. So here's an example. And I know sometimes people will laugh a little bit about this, but this is an example of a way you can do meetings in virtual reality.
Imagine a new reality where you don't have to travel to work because you could just teleport there. Where you could shake your teammate's hand and feel together even if you are continents apart. Where the rules of physics don't exist. And everything is designed to make your meetings more productive than ever. Where the whole space around you is your blank canvas. And you can use your superpowers to create three-dimensional mind maps. A reality created for agile meetings, presentations, and brainstorming sessions. Where every interaction is designed to be more effective than in real life. A reality for optimal teamwork and collaboration. Meet in VR. Better.
So that's just one program that's out there. There's a number of them. I usually have one meeting a month that with my other VR colleagues around the world. that is in virtual reality. And so we all have our avatars, we all sit around tables, and we do all of the things that you can see there. We're writing on whiteboards, we're sharing files, we're scribbling in air, we're talking back and forth, we have private conversations. So the meetings that you can have are so much more engaged. And one of the major advantages of meetings in VR is when you're talking in a meeting like now, where I'm talking on Zoom, I'm looking at the camera. I don't look at each individual. And even if I do, that means I'm looking down here or over here. When you're in VR, you're looking at the person. You're looking at the avatar, but it feels like you're looking at the person. And it takes about 2 to 3 minutes to get used to that. But all the studies show that people are more engaged in those kinds of meetings than they are in our current set of virtual meetings. So one of the other business cases is training. And, we can talk about all the different use cases for training that are out there, but I wanted to share how Hilton is using this, because you'll hear the enormity of the people that they are serving from a training aspect as this video goes on. And I think it's important to really capture that and think about a company like Hilton using this.
Every day at the corporate office, we make decisions that impact the team members at the hotel. So we really needed to make sure that our corporate team members understand the complexity of working in a hotel. Oculus for Business has really shifted the way we work. We can truly upskill team members faster and really focus on empathy building, which was a game changer for us.
We then said we can use this tool to be able to really help our team members practice different scenarios of building empathy with our guests and make sure that we are delivering best-in-class service.
Hi, I'm here to check in.
If we were to try to do this in a traditional setting, when you have 400,000 team members, that is not something that comes in an inexpensive way for us, and nor do I think it's realistic.
Every time there's been a significant advancement in the way you interact with computers, something great happens. So when the Quest came out, it was groundbreaking for us, because just like that, you have 60 OF possibilities for your experiences. Having all this available to you allows you to concentrate in what's most important, that getting what the client sees when they close their eyes and making it happen.
To me, virtual reality is absolutely the future of learning. It just genuinely immerses the team member in the experience.
Once you see this and can experience how much it can build empathy and change behavior, it's really the best tool by which we can simulate a real experience.
When clients ask, how can we develop this? How can we create this for the masses? Now we have an answer for them, the Quest.
So 2 things to take away from that, maybe 3. The amount of training, you could see all the different areas that the people are training on. 400,000 employees. How in the world would you reach 400,000 employees in a training instance? This is one of the only ways. And the fact that they talk about empathy over and over again, this is something I stress in my class that I do in virtual reality. And I'll stress a little bit later as we get into the end of the presentation about empathy and how this kind of environment really does bring out that personal touch. So next, I want to share something that's a little closer to home when we talk about training. Now, this is at the Oxford Medical Simulation, but they do some of the simulation across the river as well. We just don't have that currently in a video, but some medical simulation training to really get different people, whether it's nurses or it's techs or it's even doctors, trained in a safe environment so they're not doing something with a live patient or even with a cadaver. This is kind of the first step. So short but sweet, but the idea is you're actually practicing all of the things that you'll do in real life and making all the mistakes that you need to make, but you can make them in a safe environment versus in a normal teaching environment. Now, this one is a really great case study that I think is a great to share. It's fairly short, but if you think about COVID and PPE, and when we had a significant shortage of PPE available, how healthcare professionals could learn to utilize it properly, this was one way in which it really helped people get comfortable with using PPE without wasting the materials. So I think the important piece to take away from there, 29 steps with PPE. You mess up any one of those steps and you have the potential of cross-contamination or infection. And being able to practice and fail and make mistakes without any issues, I think is huge. I do want to share this. This is one of my favorite stories. So when I first got out of my undergrad, I couldn't find a job teaching. This was back when teachers were actually in large supply, unlike today. And so I went to work at a truck garage and worked on semi-trucks, and I needed to learn how to weld. And a friend of mine who actually had been in prison for the last 5 years had learned welding as a trade in prison, and he was working at the same place and taught me to weld. I was terrible. I couldn't tell you how much material I wasted, and I never did learn how to do it very well. I can do it well enough so it doesn't break, but it's not a good weld and it's not a beautiful bead. Fast forward 30 plus years, and my nephew is at St. Ambrose in Davenport as an engineering student, and one of the things they need to do is learn how to weld, and they do it in virtual reality. So they're not wasting material. They're learning how to weld, how to make great beads, how to make great joints. And then once they've learned how to do it in virtual reality, they have a couple of sessions in real life, and then they move on to the next part of their class. And I wish that I had been able to learn in virtual reality how to weld. I don't think I would have done it any better, but I wouldn't have wasted all those materials. So I just think that's a really great use of a training item that we don't normally see here at the university, but we're seeing it all over the area. Now, one area I mentioned was HR, and there are a lot of different ways to do HR in virtual reality, and a lot of that comes down to training. And we have a product here at the university that we use in the Tippie College of Business called Body Swaps. And it's a weird name, but the idea is you can actually, if you're doing interview simulation, you can swap places with the interviewer, and you can see how you responded to certain questions and see your movements. Did you say a lot? Did you move your head around, etc.? But as you read through this list, you can see all of the different trainings that you can go through in virtual reality where you're in a safe space. And I know I use that phrase a lot, but a lot of people don't like to make comments or open themselves up when other people are around. In virtual reality, that was weird. In virtual reality, you can actually do these testings and these trainings in a space that you can feel comfortable in. So resolving conflict, understanding conflict, bias as a barrier, all of these different areas. And I think it's important to bring that to the forefront. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about some of the things we do here in the college, and so I'll get to that in a little while. But I do want to bring forward one of my favorite marketing virtual reality environments that was created for Oreo cookies. And so I'm going to play this, and then I'm going to move around the screen a little bit so you can see the idea. It's a fun 360 world, but it gives you the idea of how you can share virtual reality environments in a different way. So as a marketing tool, you'd be able to put on the headset and look around and see what's going on. Obviously, this was a fun 1-minute marketing video, but the idea you can see that by allowing marketers to open up their minds in virtual reality, the sky's the limit, so to speak. So one of the other things to share
we've developed
is how companies can share their new products to people and show how they're being used without actually putting them out on the market directly. And so Dyson actually developed this demo, which I think is very powerful to see from a marketing perspective as well.
Virtual store so that you can get a hands-on experience of using the product and seeing what it's like in your home. It's different in that you can dive inside the product and see the technology, get a really, really wonderful three-dimensional virtual experience of what the product's all about.
We have design engineers and mechanical engineers who create the CAD of the physical product, and then that's used throughout the whole company. And it's those models that we use directly in our virtual worlds. For us, with VR, it's been about developing and making the invisible visible. So enabling our engineers to be able to see and understand the technology and understand the decisions that are being made.
Developing a vehicle in VR, things that would have been very hard to create physically. We could try things just quickly moving surfaces around. So it really changed the speed that we could work at.
You could sit inside a prototype and you could look out of the window, you could look around you and see the completed car. It's an extraordinary tool.
Dyson have got the technology in our machines to be able to create this space, this environment.
And what the actual platform itself gives us is a real good opportunity to show some of the things that are difficult to show in physical and online.
It sits alongside the physical world that we've created in our stores all over the world.
You may think of online selling as a one-way experience, but of course we do one-to-one sales online and live demonstrations from engineers. It's just a much, much better experience of understanding what a product is, what's inside it, and what it can do, and seeing it operating in a very, very realistic way.
So Dyson has taken this to the next level where not only are they marketing the product to you, they're marketing how it's made. They're marketing the future of the product. And for anyone who's ever burnt their hand on a hot iron for curling hair, obviously I haven't, but maybe some of you have. This is a safer space to do that in. So analytics, something we do a lot of here in the college, and you can see from this real quick GIF here, one of the things you can do with virtual reality is walk into the data. And you can literally step in and make adjustments on the fly within the data to give you better visualizations, as well as to understand the data better. If you look at things on a spreadsheet or you look at things on flat images, you don't see the full picture. When you're in a virtual reality environment, you get to see a 360-degree visualization, and it's so much more powerful. Now, this is probably one of my favorite ways of using what we call augmented reality. So my grandfather was a master bricklayer, and he had journeymen and apprentices that worked for him. And he had to teach them how to lay bricks. And if you've ever laid bricks, it's not as easy as it looks. And so this product allows a master bricklayer to train his bricklayers without having to guide them every single step of the way, because the technology does. So let me play a very short piece of this.
Not going to get it exactly like this would be.
UTAS provided a design model, and Colin used Hologram to turn that into a holographic instruction set. This lets Colin see the outline and precise placement of every single brick in the wall. Aside from using Hologram as an instruction set, Colin was also able to use it to train his apprentices.
So that's all the bricks, right? Yep.
So you can see the outline of where the brick is going to go. So the bricklayer can pick up the mud, put it on the brick, and then instead of trying to make sure they're lining it correctly, they can align it correctly based on the outline from the original CAD drawings. So this is a really, really great use of augmented reality in the trades.
So CAURE.
Another example of expanding how virtual and augmented reality is being used is how BMW is building factories of the future.
BMW has continued building on the momentum of their Factory of the Future initiative we showed you earlier this year. On average, they produce one new vehicle every minute, expanding the initiative to now include digital twin projects at 3 additional factories, which total more than 6 million square meters. Meeting BMW's demands for continuous improvement and innovation requires simulation of complex production scenarios to speed output, increase agility, and optimize efficiency everywhere. NVIDIA Omniverse introduces new simulation capabilities everywhere BMW needs to make critical decisions and introduce automation. BMW and their partners have also been connecting new users and tools to expand the Omniverse ecosystem.
So you can see, I won't play the whole thing, but you can see through here that unlike kind of the old style where you'd build a demo floor, or you'd actually have to build the floor for manufacturing and then make changes later, you can test everything out, figure out where everything goes, and build a much more dynamic floor as you move forward. A few other things that I think are important to bring forward is the use of virtual reality. You know, we talk about travel for virtual reality, and you can get in there and you can go see things, and that's great, but there's no substitution for going places in person. But what if you can't? What if you're homebound? What if you're placebound? You can't get out of the country. You can't even get out of the city or the state for whatever reason. Virtual reality opens up people's opportunities to get to locations that they could never go before. And in some instances, see things that other people can't see because you're seeing it from a different perspective. So for example, if you're in Petra and you're down on the floor, on the ground in Petra, you're not able actually to see a bird's eye view, where in virtual reality, there might be a drone flying over and you can see the size of the city and everything it encompasses. I love a story about the Louvre. I've never been there. I don't travel anymore. My wife and I don't travel. There's medical reasons for that. And so I'm able to travel to the Louvre and see the Mona Lisa, for example, but there's no people around because they're doing the videos, they're doing the 360s during off hours. And so now I can get a closer view of the Mona Lisa than anyone who's ever been there because I'm getting it from a different perspective. It's not a replacement, but the power of being able to travel outside of your environment is bigger than I think we can anticipate until we actually live it. And then we add into that being able to travel and get tourism on a different level, honestly. And I think this is a great example of how we can see something that we normally would see in person. We can see it from a very different perspective and get a very different perspective by having Sir David Attenborough narrate it for us.
Hold the World is an interactive virtual reality experience.
Welcome to London's Natural History Museum. In these drawers today, there is a special selection of objects ready for you to explore.
Thank you very much. There we are. Wow. Whoa. That is amazing. Heavens above. Gosh. Whoops. Look, if it's going to hit me in the face, I'm bound to put my hands up to defend myself. It is breathtakingly beautiful.
So you can imagine putting our own natural history museum in virtual reality, and people are walking through, or even augmented reality, and people are walking through, and all of a sudden the sloth comes to life, or some of the characters behind glass come to life and tell a story. And it really opens up the way people can learn and be connected in an environment that they not necessarily would feel the same connection. Come on. Got to get to the next thing. There we go.
Jem and Scout's relationship with Calpurnia and To Kill a Mockingbird is characterized by mutual respect, love, and learning. She teaches them important life lessons such as empathy, tolerance, and the understanding of racial inequality.
So this is a product developed by a company out of Davenport, Victory XR, and it's literally walking in virtual reality, walking through the courthouse and clicking on the books, images of the book, and reading passages about certain areas of what might be happening at that time, and really getting a much closer connection to Kill a Mockingbird. There's also an opportunity to go through Anne Frank's house. Now, probably on this call, there's at least one, if not more people who've actually gone through Anne Frank's house. I'll never get there, but I know other people will. And it's actually an amazing environment because they've duplicated the entire house in virtual reality. So not only do you see it, but you actually walk through it. You can click on things and learn about them, crawl into crawl spaces, and see what it was like on a small scale. Obviously not in the same as in real life, but it's close, and it really helps you understand what they were going through. I do want to make sure I bring in some of the other elements. So one of the things that virtual reality has done for us, it has been a proven pain reduction for patients, both who are going through therapy, as well as people who are getting shots and doing, say, like chemotherapy and sitting there for long hours. It actually has relieved pain, it's relieved stress, and it's allowed them to be more productive in their regular hours instead of suffering as much as they have. So it's not just about marketing. It's not just about fun. It's not just about training. It really opens up a world that researchers are just beginning to see. Now, I talked about empathy, and I'm going to get into what we do here in the college in just a second, but I really want to make sure people understand the level of empathy that you can get from this. And I talk about this in my class, and I actually have students using this particular environment. You can't understand what people are going through unless you've lived it. And even then, it's your experience, not theirs. And so this is by no means a way to tell you how to experience what it was like to be in indentured servitude or slavery right now in other countries. But this gives you an idea. So what this allows you to do is actually go into virtual reality and walk around the brick making areas in this one country and see the bricklayers who this particular family had been in indentured servitude or slavery for a decade due to owing $70. So their grandfather borrowed $70, could not pay it back. And so the grandfather, the father, and the kids all, and of course, all of the members of the family are all part of this indentured servitude in making bricks for this company because of $70. Now, a company came in or a nonprofit came in and paid the money, and the family was freed. And the youngest daughter was 6 at the time of the release, and she'd never attended school because her job was to make bricks. And to feel that, to see that, to have empathy with these people is something, and we talk about diversity and equity, and this is something that's beyond what we would get in a classroom or something beyond what we'd see here in Iowa. This really allows us to open up our minds. So what are we doing in Tippie? Obviously, as a business school, we talk about using this in business. What are we doing with virtual reality and extended reality in Tippie? Recruiting and admissions, we're working on using our digital twin for that and allowing people to come in and see campus. We're just starting that out. We're doing data visualization in classrooms, like I talked about with data visualization. You can walk into the data. We're doing marketing research, so who buys what. We're doing some things with real estate tours and some of our courses that incorporate real estate. We're looking at maybe incorporating some museum information. We're doing soft skills, active listening, resolving conflict. Our career services is going to be using this in the spring for interview simulation. And then we're teaching the benefits of extended reality to business students as a whole, so they understand when they go work for one of those myriad of companies that I showed earlier, they actually can understand what it is that the company's doing. Here's an example of visualizations that people can see through different pieces of software that we have available. Our digital twin, I'll just play a real quick thing. I think a lot of you probably have already seen this. So you can see we've got a digital twin of the outside. We also have some images of the inside. I won't take any more time of you that because I think a lot of people have seen it. But the idea is we can duplicate any environment that's on campus in virtual reality to open it up for people. We're planning on doing some alumni events in virtual reality, probably here on the green space out by the Natural Pearl, as well as having people be able to come into the building and wander through. We talked about soft skills. And then the class that I teach in the MBA program, we talk about the benefits. And so here's just the layout of all of the different programs that my students will look at. And that's how to explore a nomad experience, looking at things like if you were blind, how to be homeless, Anne Frank's house, how to do simulations, etc. So just a huge number of experiences that the students can actually take part of, and then how that can play out within their business environment. And here's a number of resources that I made available, and I can share this presentation if anyone wants to take it and use it for their own experiences. And that is it. And I will stop my share and then answer any questions if there are any.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording really quick before we get to Q&A.